Minecraft is a game in which you mine and you craft. Who would have guessed? And I'm sure all of you have played it at least once, but only 20% of people who play it actually have defeated the Ender Dragon. So that means 80% of you guys are losers. And I'm no loser, so that's why I'm gonna best that great foe today. And the only way to do that would be to destroy and exploit everything around me. So let's do that. One quick thing before this video starts. I spent dozens of hours and hundreds of gigabytes of data making this video. So if you'd be so kind as to drop a like and maybe even subscribe, it'd make all the effort worth it. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy. I spawn in and instantly I see a village, and that's gotta be one of the greatest things in this game because I get to abuse the most broken mechanic now, villager trades. But I can't instantly do that because I'd have to spend hours placing and removing workstations to get the right trade. I actually have to play the game a little bit, so that means I better get to mining and crafting. You see what I did there? Yeah, I'm pretty clever. I'm like a comedian, you know? But wait, what's that? Well, that was odd, but I need to go steal all the possessions of these villagers. They may have worked their entire lives for these feeble scraps, but that won't stop me on my road to world domination. Now that the village's resources are safely in my possession, I can go off and start mining. This is my first experience with like the new cave generation and all this update stuff because I haven't played Minecraft in like half a year, so it should be fun. And I found this cave. It looks relatively safe. So let's start our exploitation of natural resources. Hopefully burning all this coal will have no side effects whatsoever. And while I was mining, I found these two guys. They're just hanging out. They must be really close because there is not enough space on that ledge for two guys. I can't have this, you know? They're too close together. So they have to be punished. Now that that was taken care of, we can continue our depletion of the world's natural resources. Hey, look at that! Emerald! That's crazy!
Creeper! Oh man!
For no reason at all, I decided that I should stop mining for the day. You know, I felt that I deserved a break after all that hard work, so I went for a swim. But this guy, he had different ideas. He wouldn't allow anyone to have fun. What a party pooper. But I wasn't going to take that, and I also kind of wanted this trident, so I decided he would have to die for his trespasses. And it seems I might have lost the footage for this area. You know, you'll just have to believe me when I say that he suffered. But you can't only have fun, so I'd get back to work. Back to the mines I go. But as I was lining my pockets this time, I stumbled upon an abandoned mine shaft. And I can see why they don't use it anymore. Because strip mining is not the meta. It's all about caving now, and it seems they had a spider infestation. So I took care of that for them, in case they ever did want to come back. And they must have left in a hurry because there were just chests full of stuff lying around. And also, look at all the ore they missed. No wonder they weren't successful miners. I finished up mining and headed for the surface. Now that I had a strong footing and a lot of resources, I started my exploitation of the villagers. I can't wait to spend hours placing and breaking lecterns in the hope of getting a max tier book, and one that's actually useful, unlike Bane of Anthropods. But this time I was lucky, and I only been cycling trades for 5 minutes before I was offered Fortune 3. Let's go. Now all I had to do was get enough paper to lock those trades in, so I went off to start my sugarcane farm. Now what I needed were more emeralds, and paper is not a very efficient way for getting that. So I turned to sticks, which is actually pretty good for starting, because a Fletcher only wants 32 for an emerald. It's a nice way to build up a little bit of income when you're first starting out. But I must have really missed the mines, because I went back into them to get some diamonds this time though, and I would not stop until I found them. So I dove into the caves and followed them deeper than I had ever been. And I found another mineshaft along the way, and another spider spawner too. More exploitation for me. But that wasn't all. There was also a dungeon and a chest in there, and it had some goodies. And my streak of good luck did not end there, because just like 30 seconds later, there they were. Diamonds. Yes, sir. I'm rich now, in the big leagues, so you can't talk to me unless you have like $800 billion. You know what they say, rich people have good luck. Because just after a little bit, I found another dungeon, and this one was even better. It had a disc, guys, a disc, and a cat. It was cat, like actually good one. You know, I'm like a kid on Christmas whose parents have too much money. But it didn't stop there. I continued exploring. I found even more diamonds. After that very successful mining operation, I returned to the surface and expanded my exploitations. I set up fields. I expanded my sugarcane farm. I built a tree farm. And I built pens to store future animals. When night came around, I went in search of a zombie, so that way I could name it and trap it to use to further my exploits. This zombie would single-handedly break the global economy. The next day I went out into the beautiful flower fields in search of the fastest, strongest, and hardiest horse in the land. I tested dozens of them and narrowed down my selection to 3 of the best. These would be my trusted stallions for the days to come. But I couldn't go long without abusing the villager trades, so I returned to my Fortune 3 villager and brought him over to my newly entrapped zombie. These two would become great friends in the time to come, though it seems they got off on the wrong foot. They couldn't stay angry at each other for long though. Just look at them sitting together in that boat, such friendly guys. But to cure my zombie villager back to his old self, I would need a splash potion of weakness. But there was one problem. To brew a potion, I needed blaze powder. So I decided that it was time for me to head into the fiery depths of this mortal plane. I would venture into the great unknown, the Nether. Once I was in this godforsaken place, I had to find a fortress that contained the secrets to the world. So I searched, and I searched even more, until finally I found it. Its columns of brick as black as Buchad's heart, towered before me. I ventured into this unknown in search of those fiery creatures that would grant me the ability to not only brew potions, but also to find a portal of legend. But the blaze powder wasn't the only problem. I needed fermented spider eyes, and those needed mushrooms. So I set off on another great journey, a journey to the furthest reaches of the earth to find these rare mushrooms. I traveled thousands of blocks, up mountains, across rivers, over canyons, all just to find these. And eventually I made it. A forest where the leaves were thick enough to stop the grass from growing, and there I found dozens of them. I now had the means to change the world forever, by abusing villagers and forcing them to give me whatever I wanted. And I did just that. I spent hours getting the best possible trades from these villagers. Mending, efficiency, fortune, unbreaking, protection, all of them. But then, disaster struck. I watched as all those hours of progress fell down the drain. I thought that once night fell, the zombies would come and change them all into zombie villagers. That way it'd be much easier for me to cure them all. But that didn't go according to plan. Once the zombies came, they did turn the villagers. But the villagers that did remain and were not turned to zombies, they spawned in iron golems. And that's when the tragedy struck. The golems went through and killed every last one of my librarians. I had just lost all those hours of work to one stupid mistake, but I would not let that stop me. I bred more villagers, bartered for more trades, and eventually I had made it even farther than I was before. I made an armorer who would sell me a full set of diamond armor for just 4 emeralds. I got librarians who would sell me all the books I need, and also glass for unreasonably low prices. I would abuse this low-priced glass by curing cartographers who would purchase glass panes for emeralds. I now had an empire over the villagers, and the cogs of progress would not stop. I now had all that I needed, a full set of protection 4 armor, a sharpness 5 axe, and 18 eyes of ender. I was ready to face my greatest foe, the ender dragon. So I went to my stables, and what? What's going on here? Well, anyway, I went off into the distance, following the path of the eyes of ender. I had traveled 2,000 blocks when they finally told me I was above the portal. Eagerness took the best of me, and I broke the first rule of Minecraft. I dug straight down. There were some close calls, but eventually I made it. I set foot in the labyrinth. I explored, and eventually, when my hopes started to wane, I found it. The end portal. I had made it after hours I've put in. I made it, and now it was time to fight the great enemy and declare myself the strongest being in this world. And into the end I went. So that's it. I won. Now, it was time to return home.